In 100 yards, turn left onto Harlington Road West, A312. Take the next left onto Harlington Road West, A312. Continue on A312 for half a mile. Quarter of a mile, slide right onto Causeway, A312. Take the next right onto Causeway, A312. Continue on A312 for 1 mile. quarter of a mile, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit onto the Parkway, A312. Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway. Continue on the Parkway for 1 mile. Quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway Interchange, take the second exit onto the M4 Slip Road to Heathrow Airport, M25. Exit the roundabout onto the Slip Road. In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4. quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
Money, and she was trying to do the best that she could, and it was all that she knew. But you know, that whole mental health thing, I think, is so important, because in the end, that's what broke everything around her. It broke her relationships.
Keep right to stay on M4.
It broke her relationship with her children, and she.
Continue on M4 for 2 miles.
And in the end, she passed away a couple of years ago, in the worst mental health position that she could ever be. She continued to use, Class A drugs all the way to the end, and she became someone who didn't want to accept any help, because she felt that the authority had never helped her the way that she needed help. And I think that was quite key, is that she didn't trust the authorities to help her, because at those vulnerable times when she came out of prison, when she actually really, really needed someone to sit down and say, what is the issue here, what can we do to help you, she never really got that. I think, this is a public health issue. This was a woman who had problems from her childhood that were never dealt with. There was a deep distrust in the authorities, and I think that's, you're not the only one that this is happening to. This is happening to families, and especially around this country.
And how does your experience, Lee, and the experience of your mum, how does it inform your view of what we're talking about, William Hague and his contribution and his call for a change in political thinking?
I think that it is very important that we need to really look at how we treat people who are involved in drugs, and I think it's really important to make a change, because this is a cycle, and it's a never-ending cycle. It is a public health issue, it is mental health, it is poverty, it is being homeless, it's all kinds of things.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
The list goes on and on and on. Being in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people, and if you can't get someone away from all those things that create the pain in their lives, that is a cycle. It goes on to their children.
Keep right to stay on M4.
The cycle has to be broken. So I think there's something in it. I don't confess to being a big, politics.
Continue on M4 for 4 miles.
I felt compelled to call him, because I think, but for me, the phone call that I had to have with, I was estranged in the end with my mum, and the phone call I had to have with her housing officer about how she was at the end was devastating, and she didn't even understand what my mum, needed, and I think that was the most devastating thing for me, is that the people that were there that were meant to help her didn't understand how to help her.
Liam, I'm really glad. First of all, I'm glad you've been listening to LBC and you enjoy it. Thank you, and I'm glad you picked up the phone to talk to me. Thank you very much. That's Lee and her experience. Yours very welcome on the usual number. As promised, let's think about Portugal in more detail with the help of Dr. João Colau, who is Director General of the Service for Intervention on Addictive Behaviours and Dependencies and the current National Drug Coordinator for Portugal. Welcome to the programme.
Thank you.
How successful is the Portuguese experiment, do you think? We heard from a guest earlier, a police and crime commissioner, who said, yes, of course, there are lots of attractive headlines for the successes you've made, but he worried that the impact on young people is not properly assessed. Tell me, in your own words, how well or badly you think it's going.
Well, I believe that our policies are lost now by the fact that we decriminalize the use of every substance. But in fact, it's much more than that. It's a complete package of a complete set of policies on the supply side, but mostly on the demand side, on lots of work on prevention, on treatment, a broad set of responses on treatment, easily available, easily accessible, without waiting lists, without constraints, without payment. So we invest a lot in harm reduction, assuming that even when someone is still using...
In 2 miles, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
To have a better life and a longer life. We invest a lot in reintegration of people, and everything is based on the idea that we are dealing with a health social condition rather than a criminal one. So decriminalization was a logical response to that. But it's not. It's important not to assume that decriminalization is the magical bullet. Everything is done much more coherent under the decriminalization framework. But we have to invest a lot in other kind of policies to lead us to the results that we have had. And to reply to your question, we have had a delay in the experimentation of drugs by youngest. This is the result of preventive work that we are investing in. And well, the most striking results are highlighted, first of all, with ecosystems, with HIV and hepatitis cases related to drug use. As I said, we have a delay on the onset of experimentation on the youngsters. And this is, of course, we take one strong from activities related to drugs. But I think we have the tools to deal with the challenges.
In a quarter of a mile, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Would you, on the basis of your experience, would you recommend that political leaders, because you know that many political leaders, and this is what we're talking about tonight, they say, no, we want to get tough on drugs, we need to be tougher, what do you say to that?
Exit at junction 6.
In Portugal, using drugs is still prohibited, but it's not mandatory.
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the 3rd exit onto Tuns Lane, A355.
For instance, when you drive, if you do not use your safety belt, the police officer still stops you, may apply you a fine, or it may impose that you attend a training course for drivers. And this is, education is the key word in our policies. So I believe that the tough policy is not as important as people think, because in fact we have a delay on the onset of experimentation among youngsters, and we have a decrease in problematic drug use in our country. As I said, we did not solve all the problems, but we have the tools to deal with it. And even in political terms, even the parties that voted against the decriminalization 20 years ago, nowadays they assume that it was a good choice. It was
Exit the roundabout onto Tuns Lane.
There's a broad consensus, broad political consensus now about our drugs policies.
In a quarter of a mile, turn left towards Sippenham Lane.
Who's Director General of the Service for Intervention on Addictive Behaviours and Dependencies and the current National Drug Coordinator for Portugal. More to come. 6:48, Tim has the news.
More than 3/4 of adults in the UK have had both doses of a COVID jab. Boris Johnson's congratulated students on their A-level results after what he's called an extremely challenging year. The governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, has resigned. He'd been facing accusations of sexual harassment. The weather, daytime showers fading tonight, leaving...
Turn left towards Sippenham Lane.
And a few fog patches, a low of 11.
LBC Travel, I'm J. Louise Knight, and the northbound M11 looking heavy between the M25 and Harlow at 7 this evening after a van broke down. A car's broken down heading south on the M23. It's blocking one lane between the M25 and Gatwick Airport at 9. Huge problems for the northbound Blackwall Tunnel. Still, it stays shut as a tank has broken down inside the tunnel. The queues go back way past the Sun in the Sands. All surrounding routes are struggling, and to make matters worse, there's no Woolwich ferry either.
Continue for 1.5 miles.
Partly blocked because of an accident at the bottom of King's Head Hill. In Pimlico, a gas leak has shut Pimlico Road at Lower Sloane Street, and Carshalton High Street stays shut following an accident earlier at Carshalton Place. Finally, on the trains, Great Northern and Thameslink are warning of delays of half an hour from Finsbury Park to Stevenage.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Camilla Tominey.
With nearly half of pupils gaining an A or an A star, can we trust this year's A-level results?
Camilla Tominey on LBC.
When you look at the price of your breakdown cover, you might think, fudge, that's expensive. But Green Flag will halve the flipping price of your AA or RSE renewal quote. We'll even rescue you anywhere in the country. So whatever you think at first, you will soon think, thank chuff, I went with Green Flag. Green Flag, common sense to the rescue.
Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited for vehicles 10 years old and under on our closest equivalent UK vehicle cover and bought direct. Offer ends September 30th, 2021. T's and C's apply.
Call Eddie Mayer 0345 6060 973 LBC.
We can all do our bit for our environment. You can now recycle soft plastics like crisp packets and bread bags at Co-op. All you have to do is clean it, scrunch it, and Co-op it. Co-op is what we do. Selected Co-op Group stores. For more details about which plastics you can recycle with us, just go to coop.co.uk/soft-plastics.
This summer at Talk, we've got deals that make sense. Our new Fibre Plus packages offer everything you get with our standard unlimited fibre broadband plans, plus award-winning online security, plus guaranteed fixed prices from just £26 a month for 18 months, plus the latest Amazon Echo Dot with Alexa, plus an Amazon Smart Plug. When you add it all up, it just makes sense. Fibre Plus packages from Talk. For everyone, search Talk Fibre. Offer ends 8 September, £4.95 post and packing. T's and C's at talktalk.co.uk.
It feels so good knowing PensionBee combined your old pensions into a simple online plan. PensionBee. Be pension confident.
Authorised and regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. Capital at risk.
Hi, I'm Zane, a customer service assistant for TfL. As you return to our network, let me remind you that you can travel safely because we're cleaning regularly with antiviral disinfectant, providing over 1,000 free hand sanitizer stations across the network, and our ventilation systems frequently circulate fresh air on our tubes, trains and buses. Please remember, you must wear a face covering over your nose and mouth at all times, unless you are exempt. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Nothing. We're told it's not a good choice. Can't choose what present to get? How about nothing? Or what to call your newborn child? No, nothing doesn't go down well. Until now. Because Hyundai is giving you nothing. 0% APR over 3 years on Tucson models with nothing to pay up front. And with the Tucson...